Hey guys, it's Dyen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make hard techno like Dyen. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, all of that from this video. It's available right at the top of the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. And yeah, here we go. So, we're at 144 BPM. The first sound we have here is this hard kick, which sounds like this. So the way this kick is made is using a new technique I've actually never shown you guys before. It's quite a bit of distortion. So basically what's happening here is we have two layers. We have the kick, that's the punch, and then we have this kick, which is being used as a bass. So what's happening is basically, we got the main kick. Here's with no processing. And then with it, so you can see we've got it going through a drum bus and then an overdrive to give it that last little, really powerful hit. And then for the bass, so the way that I made that is, like I said, I took a kick. So I took this kick, so kind of similar to the first kick, but a little bit different. And then what I've done here is, you can see I've stretched it out using warping, and then I pitched it down a bit. And then what I did was I went in here with the fade and made it go like that, so you kind of get it's sort of bouncing off of the main kick. And then for effects on that, I have a bit of saturation. I also have this low pass filter, which actually isn't doing anything. And then I have this, so it's basically just this overdrive and then a compressor side chaining this to the kick. So we have the fade sounding like that, and then there's with the side chain. So because we're distorting it, I wanted to do a little bit more after the distortion to really make sure it's going to fit under that kick like that. But yeah, so that's what it is. I think it's important to use the distortion on the individual layers like this. Like with this style of kick, it's not just about making it sound distorted. Of course, we do need that in there a little bit, but it's this bass really isn't even that distorted, and it's got a pretty heavy overdrive on it. But what the distortion is doing is it's adding a lot of fatness. To get that really just exaggerated huge sound, you need distortion because of the fatness that it's gonna add to your sounds. Again, this kick could probably go without this overdrive. But then the overdrive, it's just giving it that extra little bit of really hard hitting stuff to kind of punch through. And then on the group here, you can see I just actually only have two things here. There's a bit of saturation and a bit of EQ. So the work is mostly happening with the individual layers. I think a lot of times with these kicks, people think that the sound comes from you make the kick and you make the bass, or maybe you use just the kick and then you just put a bunch of distortion on it all at once, and that's how you get the sound. That's not really going to do it. And I'll show you, if we put, let's say we have this and we want to get rid of these. So let's say we just drop an overdrive on here and start turning it up. So it's you can see the punch starts going away, the low end starts to go away. It's not going to really sound that good if you just drop a bunch of distortion on this whole thing at once. But if you kind of process each thing individually here the way I've done, and get the kick just sounding really hard on its own, and get the bass sounding really fat on its own, then you can just do a little bit of processing at the end like this, and it'll tie the whole thing together, but the sound is mostly coming from the individual layers. So yeah, the saturation really helps with just gluing these together. You do still want something like this, because you notice how before the kick is a little bit in a different place from the bass? So that's what the saturation will do, is it's going to glue these together a bit more and kind of push them closer together. And then with the EQ, we just have that boosting the lows, so just bringing those out a little bit more. And yeah, that's it for the hard kick. After that, we have the stab, which sounds like this. So here's the pattern with this one. You can see really simple. With these kinds of patterns, you need to keep it pretty simple. Like if you listen to any of Dyen's tracks or any of the tracks where you hear stabs like this and they have these kind of more like aggressive sort of vibes going on, it's always not going to be playing that many notes. Like it's always going to be usually just 2, 3, maybe 4 notes. 1 note really if you can. Like if you could just do C and make something catchy out of that, that would be cool. But yeah, like it needs to be simple, because listen to this track when I just play everything for you. Even if we don't have the stab in here, you know, it's a lot happening musically. So if you then try to have your stab or your sort of like melodic elements, you know, doing a bunch of melody and a bunch of different things that are going to call attention, it could be too much. But you can see when you have a simple pattern like this, it's almost like it's more percussive and rhythmic than anything. But it fits in really nicely. So yeah, this one's just bouncing from C up to G sharp and then C sharp. So that's the thing, is like these notes, you know, like the way that these fit together, for example, from going from C to G sharp is 1 note up from the 5th of C, which would be G. So by playing G sharp right after C, it's like, you know, it's already making it sound kind of dark, just based on the relationship between those 2 notes. And then the C sharp there resolves nicely back down to the C. Yeah, and then the way that I made this sound, it's really simple. It's just one of these stab samples. And then I've got to go in through some reverb and some drum bus. I think the hard thing with these is not necessarily the sound, but getting it to sound powerful and getting it to fit into the track. Because if I turn these 2 things off, you can see, like, you know, it sounds kind of flat. It doesn't really have that vibe to it. But then when you turn these on, it sounds really full and huge, and it's really going to fit into the mix nicely. So the key here comes with just adding a little bit of reverb to give it some atmosphere. You can hear that. And then the drum bus. Drum bus is a really great way to fatten up stabs like this, because it's saturating it in a way that's really bringing out a lot of nice like mid-range and low mid-range frequencies that wouldn't be as loud otherwise. And you can hear how much bigger it makes it. And yeah, after that we have this hi-hat. Some pretty simple stuff here, you know, just sort of like a big fat open hi-hat. The main thing to keep in mind, I think, is just the type of sample you choose. Like, I was going through a few different ones and trying to make one for this video, and I was finding, like, it needs to really have this punch like this, where you can hear, like, that at the start of the sound, versus, like, other hi-hats. Certain open hi-hats I've heard can be a little bit too soft. Like, they can sometimes be a little bit too much, like, but you need that. So yeah, we got that. I've got the release all the way up. And then I just have a bit of saturation on this one, and then an EQ, which is just boosting the highs a bit. The highs of these kinds of tracks, like, you know, keep in mind, it's a pretty mid-rangey mix, all things considered, with, like, the main elements here. So these hi-hats can be a really good way to bring out the highs in the track, so that's why I have that boosted so much. And yeah, that's it for the hi-hat. From there, we've got the ride, which sounds like this. So this ride is just going tss, tss, tss. What's happening is like a bit of tss between this and the hi-hat. So this is the thing. This ride is honestly kind of in the background, but what it's adding is intensity, because listen to how much more intense it sounds. So if we don't have the ride, this is what it sounds like. And then with it, you know, just having that subtle tss, tss, tss in the background really goes a long way. Because now, it's like the difference between this and this. This is so much more energetic. So that's the idea with that. And then, in terms of processing on that, I'm just kind of being high-passed a bit. You know, because typically these can have a bit of low end in them that you wouldn't want, because it'll get in the way of the kick. And then I'm just kind of going through a bit of drum bus here as well, just to kind of make it hit a bit more and make it a bit more full in the track. And that's it for the ride. After that, the last layer that we have down here is this breakbeat. So the way that I made this is I took this breakbeat, that one, and then what I did here is I just chopped it up a little bit, because you can see, like, I got rid of the kicks here, so it just goes, and then I put like the snare and put it in there. And yeah, it's just doing this. So this is something that I heard in a lot of Dyen's tracks. A lot of different producers in the style use these as well. It's these sort of old school jungle breakbeats, and I guess you could say drum and bass as well. But yeah, these are just like a really cool way to kind of add some texture to your track, because you can hear, like, it has a lot of sort of vibe and character to it already. And if I turn this off, you can hear, you know, it's not only adding a lot of character and texture, but it also just adds a lot of, like, kind of groove and intensity. Like, when I turn it off, it's still a very intense track, of course, but without it, it doesn't have that, like, little bit of groove to it. So that's what this is adding. And the key is just chopping it up so that it's not doing too much, because if you just had this playing the whole way through, like, listen to what happens if I play those kicks with the kick that we already have in the track. See how it's just kind of messy compared to, like, if you just have it go. So yeah, that's how it works. And yeah, and then for effects on this one, I have a few. So the first thing we got here is this utility, just converting it to mono, because sometimes these can have like a weird stereo image. Here's without this. You can see, like, it just felt a little bit off, I guess, on the left ear, so I just turned that on. Pretty simple way to get it under control. Then we've got a bit of drum bus. This is just fattening it up a bit, making it hit a bit more. This is actually pretty essential, because it's kind of like with the ride, or like with the hi-hat, or with the stab, you know, it's like with the stab, for example, when we turn off the drum bus, or with the hi-hat, when we turn off the saturator, they just don't really, like, fit in the mix as well. But when you turn this on, you can hear the breakbeat. Yeah, it's the same deal. All of a sudden, the breakbeat fits into the track a lot better, because it's a bit more full sounding. So yeah, then we just have a high pass filter, cutting out the low end, and then I have an EQ after that, just boosting the highs a little, just to make it kind of a little bit sharper. And yeah, so that is it for the breakbeat, and that is also going to be it for this video, guys. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI presets. Everything from this video that I just showed you is available right at the top of the description on my Patreon. This is a great way or on my Bandcamp. It's also available on my Patreon now, though. It's a great way to support me. You know, if you guys like these videos, if you've been learning a lot from these videos, it's a great way to keep me going. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.